it's Caitlin, and today I'm going to be doing the Keeper book tag, which was an original tag created by my friend Kim Chance in anticipation of her book Keeper, which will be releasing on January 31st, and I am so happy and excited for her. I cannot wait to get Keeper and give it a home on my shelf. This has been something that Kim has been working towards for so long, 10 years to be exact, and so I'm so happy that this is finally happening for her, and her first book baby is going to be coming out. In anticipation of that, she created this book tag to do where she created questions that kind of correlate to her book Keeper, but then you can also use them to choose other people's books and talk about your books, and it's just a super fun and unique tag, and she told me that she really had hoped that I would do it, so I'm going to be doing it, and it's just a fun tag, so I cannot wait to get into it, to answer these questions and get started. So I have all of the questions right here, so let's go on ahead and jump in. I highly recommend, if you do not already follow her, to go and check out her YouTube channel and her social media. She's just such an encouraging and amazing person. She has great writing advice on her YouTube channel, and please pre-order or anticipate her book and support her because she's such an amazing woman and she just deserves this so much, and I'm so excited for her. And also, you can get some amazing writing advice from going and subscribing to her channel, so go check that out. I will link to that below, and I will also link to her original video where she did this tag for the first time as well. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Alrighty, the first question is Keeper, a book you'll keep reading over and over again. This is such a cute tag. I absolutely love this. So for a book that I will keep reading, let's see, I know exactly what I'm going to pick. For this, I will definitely have to pick The Hunger Games. There's actually not a book on my shelf, or I think a book at all, that I have ever read more than one time, just because I'm constantly looking ahead to what I want to read that's new, so I don't really reread books that often. But if there was a book that I would continually keep rereading over and over and never get tired of, it would be The Hunger Games or any of the sequels in the Hunger Games trilogy. This is my favorite series, and I just love it so much, and I think that I would find something new every single time. Another book series that's kind of like this is Harry Potter. You always see new things in there, so that would probably be a close second, and you always just find new intricate complexities to the story, and so you never get tired of reading it because you always discover something new, and The Hunger Games is just like that. So this would be a book that I will keep forever. You have to pry it out of my hands. I will never let it go. It is my favorite, and this is definitely a keeper for me. Question number 2 is Lainey and Maggie, your favorite bookish friendship. So Lainey is the main character in Kim's book Keeper, and then Maggie is her best friend. So for this question, it's asking about your favorite bookish friendship. And for this one, I actually do not own any of these books. I do own The Hobbit, which is up there, but that one technically doesn't count for this friendship. However, I actually have not read any of these books, but I've seen all the movies, so I'm still counting it because I consider it to be one of my favorite fictional friendships, and that is Sam and Frodo from The Lord of the Rings, and I will pop up a picture right here of the book cover of the first book. They are just, I especially love Sam. For some reason, I feel like Frodo is just, he's okay, and again, maybe in the books he is a better character, but for me, Sam is my favorite character in the movies, and he is just such an amazing friend, and their friendship just makes me so happy. The one scene at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring movie where Sam wades into the water and says that he will follow Frodo anywhere just melts my heart. It is an amazing friendship, and Sam is such an amazing friend. He follows Frodo everywhere, to Mordor, you know, the most dangerous place in their entire world. He follows him because he is his friend and he cares about him, and to me that is just the best friendship ever. So I definitely have to say Sam and Frodo from Lord of the Rings. Question number 3 is which witch your favorite bookish witch or warlock? There's absolutely no doubt about it that Hermione Granger from Harry Potter is my favorite witch. She is a book lover, and as Sirius says in The Prisoner of Azkaban, she is the brightest witch for her age. I absolutely love her. I love her character. I love how much she cares about Ron and Harry, and how much she's there for them and supports them through everything, through all 7 books and everything they have to go through. She's just an amazing character, and she even gives up her family later in the series in order to help Harry and Ron and their other friends to defeat Voldemort, and I think that just shows so much of her character, and I love her so much. She's one of my favorite fictional characters, and she is definitely my favorite witch or warlock from a book series. And I'm sorry if you can see the camera is shaking. My dog's on the bed and she's shaking the camera, so sorry about that. Alrighty, question number 4 is The Master, a book villain you love to hate. For this one, I'm definitely going to go with Deliverance by C.J. Redwine. The villains in this book are just unmatched by anything I have ever read in another book. I think that they are so well fleshed out, and one of the things about the particular villain in this book, Deliverance, there are several villains in this book, and the main one throughout the whole series is Commander Chase, and I really love to hate him as well, but there's one particular villain in this book. His name is Ian, and he's so three-dimensional, and the reason that he does what he does and the reason that he does the horrific things that he's done, it makes sense for his character, and so I actually sympathize with him a lot of the time, and so I kind of see that whole love to hate thing in a different light for him. But Commander Chase is just a super evil dictator in this world, and he has pretty much no mercy for anybody, and so I really dislike him, and so he would be somebody that I would love to hate. But also Ian, I just really sympathize with him, and I'm sorry if y'all can hear Gracie, she's just talking to me. But the villains in Deliverance are some of my favorites and some of the best villains that I've seen in any fictional books, and I would have to definitely pick Commander Chase and Ian as villains that I love to hate. Alrighty, question number 5 is Kim Chance, a book you're glad you took a chance on. Literally the cutest tag ever. The book that I'm going to choose for this question is Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and the reason that I picked this for this question is because I buddy read this with one of my good friends, Amy, from A Magical World of Words. I purchased it, and then we decided we wanted to read it together, but as I was reading it for the first half of the novel, I just did not like it. I was not getting into it. I didn't really like some of the phrasing and how things were worded, and there was just some insta love, and I just thought that I was going to really dislike this book. But about halfway through, it started picking up, and then we got to the very end, and there is a huge plot twist in this book that throws pretty much everything on its head. And at the end of reading this book, I was reeling from that plot twist in such a way that I actually ended up really liking this book, and I'm really anticipating Legendary, which is coming out this year. That is the second book. I don't know if this is going to be a trilogy, but that is the sequel, and I'm really anticipating it now, and so I'm really glad that I took a chance on it and finished it. That's how I'm going to interpret this question. In taking a chance on just giving this book the benefit of the doubt and finishing it, I'm glad that I did, because I ended up liking it way more than I thought that I would. Both Amy and I agreed about halfway through, we were like, we're not gonna like this, but in the end we both said that we actually ended up liking it. It was not, I didn't have Goodreads back then, but I would not have rated it 5 stars probably because of that, but that plot twist was so good, and the story just really picked up from about halfway on, and in the end this is such a unique book. I've never read anything like it. Most people compare it to The Night Circus, but I have never read that book, so it's just such a unique read, and that plot twist completely saved this book, and so I'm super glad I took a chance on it because I really ended up liking it in the end. Question number 6 is Gareth and Serena, your favorite non-blood or non-related family. Okay, so I have to put in a little shameless plug here because my favorite non-blood family would definitely have to be from my book What Lies Above. My main character, or one of my point of view characters, Eva, and her best friend Aiden are so close, and they've been that close since birth, and they're pretty much like family, and she just sees him as a brother, and so they would probably have to be my favorite. But for my favorite non-blood family in a published book that is not mine, I'm going to go with Enna Burning by Shannon Hale. The title character Enna and her best friend Ani are such good friends, and the reason that I went with this one, which is the second book in the series instead of the first one, The Goose Girl, is because this book really shows Enna and Ani's relationship in a way that is just super different than the first book, because Enna ends up going on a quest, you could probably call it, towards the last half of this book, and Ani follows her. Even though Enna tells her to stay back in the kingdom, she follows her, and this might be a spoiler if you have never read this series, so you might want to mute it for a second if you don't want any spoilers, but I don't really think it's that much of a spoiler. But in this book, towards the end, Ani becomes pregnant. She's married to a prince, and she is pregnant, but she still goes on this quest with Enna because she's her best friend and she doesn't want her to go alone, and that just shows something about their friendship and the fact that they haven't known each other their entire lives. They met in the first book, The Goose Girl, but they are just such good friends, and it's been a few years since I read this series, but I still remember how much they loved each other as sisters and what Ani and Enna were willing to do for each other, and I think it's an amazing friendship, and it's a great example of non-blood family. Alrighty, question number 7 is Ty, favorite mysterious male character. I don't really know if this counts as a mysterious male character, but I consider him to be this, and he definitely is kind of that suave bad boy figure, misunderstood character. That is Finnick from Catching Fire, and this series with Finnick, It just destroyed me, guys. If you know what happens in this series, I'm not going to spoil it, then you will know why I say that. But in Catching Fire, Finnick is definitely that kind of like mysterious bad boy figure that Katniss thinks not too highly of. But then as the series developed, you realize it's kind of like a Pride and Prejudice thing. You realize Finnick's true intentions and his true motivations, and I loved Finnick so much. So he's definitely my favorite mysterious male character, and his character arc over this book and into Mockingjay is just so good. And he's definitely my favorite, hands down, mysterious male character. I also want to mention a close runner-up that I think definitely deserves a small spotlight as well, and that is The Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson, because the character of Lonen is also kind of like a mysterious male figure as well. Whenever Eden first encounters Lonen, it is on very mysterious terms. These three boys and one of her previous friends just show up on the island that she's on, and they won't tell her anything, and it's super mysterious, and she has no idea what's going on or why they're there or what they're doing, and nobody will tell her any answers. And he's definitely kind of like this brooding, mysterious character, but then over the course of the novel, he's another one of those instances where you get to see his true colors and his true identity. But it's definitely a really mysterious beginning for Eden and Lonen, and he is one of my favorite mysterious male characters as well. I absolutely love this book so much. 10 out of 10, you guys should read it, but he is a close second for mysterious male character, so Finnick and Lonen would have to be my two choices for this. Alright, number 8 is a book you had a strong reaction to. And for this one, I am choosing The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This plot twist in this book completely blew me away, and I think that if you anticipate it from the beginning, I think it's one of those plot twists where you either get it from like page 1 or you don't get it at all, and I was one of those people who did not get it at all, and so whenever I came to it, I was reeling from this forever. I just could not believe it. This was many, many years ago that I read this, and I tried to explain it to my mom, and she of course she hadn't read the book, so she had no understanding of what was going on, so she could not appreciate it, but I literally was just mind blown by this plot twist, and I had such a strong reaction to it. I thought it was so skillfully done, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a few things that Mary E. Pearson did to pull the plot twist off that I did not notice at all, namely how she named the chapters, and I just didn't even notice that. It was so subtle, and so whenever the plot twist came and it hit me, I was so mind blown by this, and I was reeling from it forever. So it definitely had a huge impact on me, and I had a huge reaction to this book. Another book that I had a super strong reaction to was Mockingjay, and I know that I've now mentioned every single book in this series, but it is my favorite trilogy ever. These books are so, so good, and so I could pretty much make them fit into any question, but this one in particular, I had such a strong reaction to the plot twist between Katniss and Peeta in Mockingjay, and I literally think that I leapt up and screamed whenever I read that. It just made me have such a strong reaction, and for Suzanne Collins to do that was super risky, but I so appreciate that now as an older writer, what she did and the emotional reaction that she got out of me as a reader, and so I had such a strong emotional reaction to that plot twist and to the rest of the book, because even though in the epilogue it is shown that there is healing, there was still such a hurt and such destruction that was caused by that plot twist between Katniss and Peeta, and it was a really risky move as a writer, and I had such a huge reaction to it. And then at the end of the book, whenever I read the very last line, it is my favorite line ever, and that line is, "So when he asks me, you love me, real or not real, I tell him real," and that line means so much to me, and it has such an emotional reaction to that as well. And then to the epilogue, like I said, in terms of the healing and the happiness, that this is probably definitely also a huge emotional reaction that I had to this book. So this is definitely a second book, and I know that I was supposed to pick one, but I'm going with 2, because this book probably actually tops The Kiss of Deception in terms of an emotional reaction, and so definitely this one is an answer for this as well. And number 9, the final one, is Magic Always Leaves a Mark, which is the tagline for Kim's Bookkeeper, and she says, "A book that left a big impact on you." And for many, many reasons that I will mention in just a minute, that book is The Shifter by Janice Hardy. This is technically classified, I believe, as a middle grade book, but I talk about it a lot because this is probably one of my favorite series, and it has more than just a fictional or storytelling impact on me. It has a really personal impact on me. First, I'm going to talk about the storytelling a little bit, because this is actually the book that made me want to become a writer, and that just the personal side of that is so important, and it just holds such an amazingly special place in my heart because of that. Whenever I finished reading this book, it was the moment that I really realized I wanted to be a serious writer, because I had always written little stories as a child. And like I said, I read this whenever I was like 11, I believe, 11 or 12. And so whenever I finished it, it was the moment that I thought to myself, I can be a writer. And that's the moment I think that I flipped the switch from becoming somebody who just liked books to somebody who wanted to write their own book. And I remember very, very vividly thinking to myself whenever I finished this book, I can do that. And it's not because I was thinking that this book was childish at all. It's an amazingly written book, and I highly recommend that you guys read it. It's such a unique story. But I remember being so inspired by this story and thinking to myself, I want to do that. I want to make a reader feel this way, and I want to write my own story. And then I started Concealed right after that. Whenever I was 12, that's when I started it. So that was one aspect of the personal relationship to this book of having a big impact on me. But even more than that, I met Janice Hardy at a signing when I was 13, I believe. And by that point, I had already read this book and Blue Fire, and Darkfall was releasing, and I got it at the signing. And it was at a really small bookstore in Georgia, and I went and I met Janice Hardy there, and there was only like 5 of us there. And I got to sit next to her, and I asked her all of these questions. And at that point, I was writing my first book, Concealed. And she stayed afterwards and talked to me and let me tell her about my book and answer my questions. And she signed my books, and I'll actually show you guys. I'm not sure which copy it is in. Okay, yeah, so it's in my copy of Blue Fire, and I don't know if you guys can read this, but right there she signed for Caitlin, a fellow author, Janice Hardy. For an author that I admired and looked up to like Janice Hardy, to put me on the same level and call me a fellow author boosted my confidence in a way that I could never even begin to explain. And today, Janice and I are really good friends, but just looking back on that experience of really how this changed my life as a writer, this series and that experience of going to her signing, it just has such a huge impact on me, more than I can even begin to explain in this video. And it has such a personal place in my heart. And so this series and that book, The Shifter, is absolutely hands down the biggest series or book that has ever had an impact on me. And I've told Janice a million times how much of an impact that she made on me, but I still think she really will never know just what it meant to me as a young writer to read that book, realized that I wanted to be a writer, and then to have her call me a fellow author. It was just such an incredible experience and feeling and memory. And so hands down, the Shifter series is my answer for the biggest book that has ever made an impact on me. Alright guys, that is all for the Keeper tag. This was such a fun tag. Thank you so much, Kim, for creating this, and I just loved the unique questions and getting to talk about some of my favorite books. And not surprisingly, I mentioned the whole Hunger Games trilogy, but it was just such a fun tag, and I got to tell you guys some more personal things about books that I love and why they're important to me and why I have emotional reactions to them, and talk about some different characters I liked that I don't think I've mentioned on my channel before. So I'm going to tag one person, because I can only really think of one person off the top of my head who hasn't already been tagged by Kim, and that is Natalia Lee. I'm going to tag her to do this, and I will leave her channel link down below in the description box. Y'all should go check her out. And I'm going to also tag any of you guys who want to do this. Just leave me a comment down below and let me know if you do this video. I'd love to see your answers to the tag, and then also let Kim know if you do it. I'm sure she would love to see as many people as possible doing her tag and showing support for her. Again, please consider pre-ordering or anticipating her book. And again, go check out her YouTube channel. It's linked down below. She's an amazing writer and friend and YouTuber, and she's had such a huge impact on me as a writer. First, it was just watching her videos that encouraged me, but then over time, we've become such close friends, and she's been such a huge support in my corner. Whenever I'm feeling discouraged, she's always there to say, Caitlin, you know, keep going, you can do this. And just in her critiques with reading my pages, just in so many different ways, she's been an amazing encouragement to me, and I cannot wait to give her even a fraction of what she's given me and to support Keeper. So please consider supporting her as well. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this tag, and again, I'm tagging Natalia, and any of you guys who want to do it, let me know if you do. I'd love to see your videos. If you want to connect with me, all of my social media links are down down below in the description box. I am on Facebook, Twitter, Goodreads, and on my blog, Quills and Coffee, so you can go check me out there as well. Alrighty, before we go, I just wanted to mention that there are 2 videos up on my channel today. This one, and then I have a second one, which is a book haul of me showing you guys about 9 or 10 books, I believe, that I purchased this past week, so go check that out. That's a really fun one. And then in that video, I also include footage of me reorganizing and completely redoing my bookcases. I don't know if you guys can tell in the frame, but I completely rearranged and redesigned and reorganized my bookcases. I took off every single book, and I also filmed a bookshelf tour video that will be coming up in a few weeks where I showed you guys every single book on my bookshelf, and there were a lot of them. So that's a really fun video that will be coming up in a few weeks, but I included the footage of me reorganizing my bookcases and transforming them. They were kind of a disorganized mess before, but now they're much more organized. I have my TBR shelf, which hopefully will help me be more motivated to read because there's a ton of books on it. And then I just have everything organized by genre. That is all for today. Thank you guys for spending your Saturday with me, and I will catch y'all next week. Bye!